Hey guys, Ramsey here with the Rajathon YouTube channel and wanted to do a review on the short story Binti. I got this as a gift from Pato the Reader. She sent it to me because she didn't really enjoy it and was going to go ahead and get rid of it. And I said, I'd love to read it. And she sent it to me. It was so gracious and so wonderful, and I'm really thankful she did it. This story was really, really interesting. It had me thinking a lot, had me considering some things. I'd planned on reading it before all this craziness in the U.S. started happening with the murder of George Floyd and all that. But, just worked out that it was happening anyway, and I'm really excited I've gotten to it. This is really far in the future, and we've met alien races, and a lot of things have happened, and it seems like the world's kind of come together, but there's still the culture of these people. The Himba people is where Binti's from, which is an actual tribe in Nairobi. This was not made up for the story. The author's name is Nyeti Okorafor. I'm probably saying it wrong, but I saw on her Twitter that she doesn't mind if you pronounce it wrong, just as long as you do it respectfully. So I'm going to try my best. Nyeti Okorafor. Hopefully that's not too bad. But she is an American, but her family is from, I'm guessing, these people. And so one of the big things and topics that's a very prevalent part of the story is something that the Himbe tribe is famous for, which is their utse, which is, in the book, it's described as oil from a flower and red clay. And they mix it together and they rub it on their skin, and then they take it and they put it on their hair, and it creates, I'll put some pictures up here, it creates a like dreadlock of red clay, and it's described in the story, and you kind of get the idea of there's so little water there in that part of Nairobi. So the Otzi, I'm gonna go with Otzi. It's red clay and oil, and it's actually in the book. It's they use butterfat in it, but it's really neat. They take it and they actually clean themselves with it, and it helps. I'm assuming it kind of helps keep the sun off their skin as well, and it helps protect them from the sun. So it's a really neat, interesting part of their story, and she describes it as without it they feel naked. It is how they bring their land with them. They are so proud of the land they are from, and this is part of their tribal culture that has stayed around. I mean, her family is astrolabe creators, which are, it sounds kind of like cell phone ID slash like really intricate tech that they use. And so her dad is an astrolabe creator, and then she is in line to be the next astrolabe creator, and going to be even better than he is. Like, people come from all over to get their astrolabes or whatever, right? And but Binti takes the planetary exams and scores so high on mathematics that this university off planet said, we'll pay all your expenses. All you got to do is get here. They'll even pay, for her to get there. Basically, just come. And so she is trying to get there. That's how the story starts. And the cultural representation of it was really, really cool. And I, personally, my great grandfather was Blackfoot. And so I look at like the way that culture has come in to the Native Americans in the US. And it's not a good backstory for sure. But some things have been good for Native American people, especially back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, like horses. The Plains people took to horses so well. It changed the way that they did things. It changed the way they hunted the buffalo, changed the way they moved around, changed the way they fought war. And you look at native culture and you imagine them with horses. But horses came from Europe. They were not native to the U.S. To like North and South America did not have horses, or pigs, by the way. But so you think, those horses came over from Europe, and the native peoples took to them so well that it became part of their culture and became such a huge part of what we think of when we see natives now. And so it's really cool to see how that part of Binti's culture will keep going and keep coming forward in her. Um, I'm assuming we're probably 2 to 1,000 years in the future, right? So they still brought forward their Utsi, and that was really really cool. The the way that it's handled, I like as well, because she's not hateful about it. She's talking about you know people touching her, and in two instances of people touching her hair. One was a very rude lady, and then another was a boy that she liked, and so it was like. Um, she dealt with that in reasonable ways, and she's like, I understand I'm different, and if people are curious, I'd love to tell them about it as long as they're not rude to me. And I mean, that's really really cool of her. And then another thing that she had is she wore metal anklets, and I had no idea that the reason that they initially wore those in African culture was to protect themselves from snake bites. And it makes a lot of sense, because a snake tries to bite you, hits the anklets instead, and it protects you from getting bit by a snake. I mean, I just thought they were jewelry. I never knew that they had a practical purpose and reason, and that's so cool to learn. It's a really cool thing that I learned from this story, and I appreciate it a lot. Now, when we get into story structure, Binti was not supposed to leave home. Like her family was like, I'm glad that you did a good job, and I'm glad that you scored high on this mathematics test, but you're supposed to be here. You're supposed to take over your father's astrolabe shop. You're supposed to be here with your family. The Himbi people don't move. They don't go. They don't go anywhere. They stay right here. This is our land. And that's a very cultural thing too. That she was bucking all of the systems. And so when I get into spoilers, I'll kind of tell you a little bit more about like how, because she left, she feels isolated. She felt like, not only do the people that I'm trying to go join don't accept me, but also my family has disowned me because I've left. And so for her, she feels so alone, and that's another part of the story that's important. I hope that you guys give this short story a chance. It was very good. I found it enjoyable. I know you can catch it on Kindle for fairly cheap. Um, and there's a couple other sequels to this as well, and it was it was a fun story. I read it in a day, um, and it made me think a lot. Really, really made me think a lot. And I am excited for people to learn about different culture. I mean, this is, yes, it's a sci-fi story, but it really teaches you more about the Hembe tribe, and that was really really cool to learn through the story. You slowly learn about what this tribe is famous for and what they do, and how they revere their land so much. Really really cool to learn about. So if you guys aren't staying for spoilers, thank you so much. If you like what you saw here, go ahead and subscribe. I try to do videos twice a week. I also have a Discord where we chat and talk a lot, and I use Twitter as well for the BookTube channel. So thank you so much. All right, spoiler time. What I want to talk about is, if you've read the story, we have the living ship that she rides on. Really, really, really cool. The friends that she makes, the Meduse, what they do when they come on the ship, and the ending. So, the living ship was really, really cool. The basically we found this space creature and planted plants in it to create oxygen. Um, Basically, the interior, I'm assuming it's like a space whale, right? And this space whale, we can travel the galaxy in, and somehow they guide it and direct it, but it's a living organism that we have used for travel in space. That is super super cool. And then she quickly makes friends on the ship, which is really nice to see. The people, even though she was different, they wanted to learn more about her. She talked about the boy she had a crush on, what looked, I'm assuming, white. So she didn't have prejudice in that way, and it seemed he didn't have prejudice in that way. So even though they were curious about who she was, they were fairly good people and very inclusive people, and that was really nice. Um, the Meduse, I'm assuming, because they had tentacles, and that it was a play on Medusa, right? Um, they breathed this gas-like substance, and it seemed like they kind of, as they were breathing this gas, it sustained them. kind of a neat. Instead of a spacesuit, they wore a, they had like natural. They would make their own air or something like that. That was a neat idea. But they came in and they killed the entire ship. They killed everybody but her and the pilot, and kept the pilot alive basically, so that they could. They were basically terrorists. Um, they hijacked the ship and were going to go through and kill everybody at the university to try to get back the chief's stinger because of a misunderstanding. The one problem I have with the story is the fact that they killed a ton of children and just assumed that at the end, when Binti went to go negotiate, that everything would be forgiven because, ooh, we made a mistake beforehand. But you still killed hundreds of children. Um, the ends don't justify the means. And I understand where Binti was a negotiator and the peacemaker, and that was great for her. But to have no consequences for killing all these children, that didn't sit great with me. That the idea of that, there should always be consequences when you kill people. There are other ways to handle that situation. I don't think that there's. I mean, there's parents that lost children. There's families that lost family members, and nothing is done to the Medusa for slaughtering people. And that is the only true problem I have with this story. That there's not a reckoning of, these people, these beings killed all these people. I understand it's a sci-fi story. I'm not trying to make everything believable, but I don't think any board of government will say, yeah, we're totally okay with you killing all these people. And then the treaty was interesting. The fact that they allowed the first Medusa student to join the university as well. So Binti was the first from the Himbi tribe, and then Orso, I think it's Orso, was the first Medusa student to join the university after the treaty is signed, and they got the stinger back, and everybody's pretty happy about the whole situation. And then when Binti was stung and kind of gave her the ability to learn the language without the old weapon, her hair becomes like their hair. So she kind of becomes not even the first Himbe, but the first Himbe Medusa hybrid to join the university. And she creates her own Utse once she gets to the planet and kind of covers her tentacle hair. And, that's really, really cool. I think, it's interesting to see the way that she's changed because she left her planet. She's really one of a kind now. Overall, I love the story. I thought it was a really good story, and I would tell everybody to give it a shot. You may not go through with the rest of the books. I'm going to try to finish all of them. But the first jump in was cool. It was a culture I'd not seen before, other than National Geographic, articles when I was a kid. And I learned so much more about the culture because we were in Binti's head and learned who Binti was and why Binti felt the way she did and why these things were important to her. That was really, really cool. So if you guys like the video or the channel, please subscribe. Thank you guys so much. Bye.